The time is precisely 1:15 p.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. News edited by Danishka Madhavala and read by Chandima Veerakorn. Headlines. The government has commenced the program to empower 25,000 female entrepreneurs. It is expressed that solutions for the problem of burial of the COVID-related deaths should be found scientifically. Japan has provided more than $600,000 for demining activities in the north. Trade between South Africa and Sri Lanka will be more balanced in the future. On news overseas, coronavirus cases for new variant appear worldwide. Local stories in detail. The government has commenced the program to empower 25,000 female entrepreneurs. The government has allocated relevant funds from the budget. At least one female entrepreneur from each Grama Seva division in the country will be empowered through this program. State Minister Shehan Semasinghe says that by this project, the government will be able to create a powerful supply chain throughout the country. It will help to successfully face pandemic situations like COVID. The minister was speaking at a ceremony held at Anuradhapura to introduce a loan scheme for small and medium-scale businessmen. Chairman of the National Library and Documentation Services Board, Sonala Gunawardena, says that solutions for the problems of burial of the COVID-related deaths should be found scientifically. The Supreme Court has given a clear stance over the COVID-related deaths. The authorities should think wisely when taking decisions over this issue. Health-related issues should be solved according to the social and geographical possibilities of the country. Participating at the Subharthi discussion program of the SLBC, he said that the global situation needs to be considered when taking these decisions. Participating in the discussion, senior lecturer of the Sri Pali campus, Dr. Tudor Veerasinghe, said that everyone in the country must act according to the constitution of the country. The government of Japan has provided a sum of more than $600,000 to the Mines Advisory Group for humanitarian demining activities in northern Sri Lanka. The grant contract was signed. The project will contribute to the efforts of the government of Sri Lanka in ensuring that mine-contaminated areas are safe, enabling resettlement of displaced people and enhancing directly or indirectly more than 8,000 people's livelihoods in the Mana and Vaunia districts. The Mines Advisory Group commenced operations in Sri Lanka in 2002 with approximately 20% of its clearance activities accomplished through Japanese assistance. Since 2009, when precise data was made available, MAG has released the total of 93 square kilometers of suspected contaminated land in the country. Japan has been a major donor in the area of mine clearance in Sri Lanka since 2002 and is the only donor in the country which assists all 4 demining NGOs currently operating in the island. The government of Sri Lanka aims to achieve a mine impact-free Sri Lanka within a few years and to become the next mine impact-free country in the world. Through this project, the government of Japan endeavors to ensure that Sri Lanka is safe for all. Outgoing South African High Commissioner in Colombo, Robina P. Marks, said that South Africa has been able to expand its trade footprint in Sri Lanka and that overall trade stood hugely in favor of her country. South Africa is Sri Lanka's largest source of imports and the second largest export destination in the African region. Imports from South Africa largely consist of coal, and Sri Lankan exports comprise of bulk tea, apparel and rubber products. The High Commissioner underscored that it is needed to recalibrate its trade strategy in Sri Lanka and the desire for a more balanced trade relationship between the two countries. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Continuing with the local stories, police media spokesperson DIG Ajit Rohana said that 4 individuals have been arrested along with a stock of turmeric smuggled into the country from India. The arrest has been made by the police special task force upon a search of a trawler at the Hungama area. A total of 20,000 kilograms of turmeric has been seized in the operation. Further investigations into the matter are carried out by the STF and the Hungama police. Minister Mahinda Amaravira says that the government has decided to investigate businessmen who do not streamline the places after they finish the places where mining sand, earth and stones. The permits will not be issued for the persons who do not restore the places according to the government standards. Many people who do not pay their attention for the restoration of the places after mining is ended. Severe environmental damages have been reported from those places. People have also met with accidents in the mining holes. To conclude the local news, the headlines again. The government has commenced the program to empower 25,000 female entrepreneurs. It is expressed that solutions for the problems of burial of the COVID-related deaths should be found scientifically. Japan has provided more than $600,000 for demining activities in the north. Trade between South Africa and Sri Lanka will be more balanced in the future. That ends the local news.
A mother knows the pain of each member of the family. Siddhalepa, the trusted relief for aches and pains.
An effective therapy for relief from cold, sneezing, flu, headaches, swelling due to toothaches, rheumatic, discomforts, and muscular aches and pains. Siddhalepa, the Vidya Mahatmya in every home.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vidya Mahatmya.
On the main news story, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa yesterday visited Pahalagama Alapattu in Anuradhapura and inspected the damage caused to maize plantations by the fall armyworm caterpillar. Maize farmers have been severely affected by the destruction to the crops due to the army caterpillar menace for the past 2 years. This year too, the caterpillars have damaged the maize crop in many districts and the expected yield has dropped by a high percentage, the farmers told the president. Farmers also briefed the president on the threat posed by wild elephants to plantations. The farmers commended the president for coming to the fields and looking into the difficulties they were facing. That ends the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vidya Mahatmya. Brush your teeth twice a day for healthy teeth and gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, your trusted brands in oral care for many years.
Supiriviki Ayurvedic toothpaste for adults. Kakulu Ayurvedic toothpaste for kids. 9 Ayurvedic ingredients of Supiriviki will protect your teeth and strengthen your gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, products from Siddhalepa.
Moving on to Watchlight, the residents in Valavitia complain that various malpractices are being carried out in Mabim Dala Reserve belonging to the Valavitia Divithura Pradeshiya Sabha. They point out that it is the responsibility of authorities to safeguard this reserve, which is of 600 acres of land. This is for the attention of the chairman of the Valavitia Divithura Pradeshiya Sabha. We move on to the world news. The headlines. Cases of new variant of coronavirus appear worldwide. Nashville explosion, probably suicide bombing. Soviet Cold War spy and former M16 officer George Blake dies in Russia. Cases of the more contagious variant of COVID-19 first identified in the UK have been confirmed in several European countries as well as Canada and Japan. Infections linked to people who arrived from the UK were reported in Spain, Switzerland, Sweden and France. A couple found infected in Ontario, Canada had no known travel history or high-risk contacts, officials say. Japan is to ban most non-resident foreign nationals from entering the country for a month from tomorrow. Since reporting infections in 5 passengers who had all arrived from the UK, the country has confirmed 2 more cases, one of which is said to have been domestically transmitted. The camper van blast in Nashville on Christmas Day was probably a suicide bombing, law enforcement officials are quoted as saying by US media. Investigators are conducting DNA tests after human remains were found near the site of the powerful blast. The home of a possible person of interest was searched on Saturday in Nashville's suburb of Antioch. The blast injured 3 people and disrupted communication systems in Tennessee and 4 other states. No motive has yet been established for the explosion in the state of Tennessee, and no one has yet said they were behind it. George Blake, the former M16 officer and one of the Cold War's most infamous double agents, has died aged 98. Russian media has reported. Over 9 years, the Soviet spy handed over information that led to the betrayal of at least 40 agents in Eastern Europe. He was jailed in London in 1960, but escaped in 1966 and fled to Russia. The Russian Foreign Intelligence Service said Blake had a genuine love for our country. To end the world news, the headlines again. Cases of new variant of coronavirus appear worldwide. Nashville explosion, probably suicide bombing. Soviet Cold War spy and former M16 officer George Blake dies in Russia. That ends world news. Over to development news. Senior Research Associate at Overseas Development Institute in London, Dr. Ganeshan Vignaraja said that Sri Lanka's growth will return to medium-term trend levels of plus 3% to 4% in 2020 to 2021, weighing up the various risks and the government's economic response to the pandemic. He said there seems a consensus among forecasters that Sri Lanka's growth in 2020 will be negative and one of the worst years on record since 2000. Projections indicate that the country's growth will return to positive territory in 2021, but there are disagreements between official and other forecasts on the figure. This reflects different views on domestic and international risks, such as emerging market debt crisis, trade tensions between US and China, and the duration of the pandemic. That ends development news. We take a look at sports news now. Volleyball, branded as the national sport of Sri Lanka, a declaration that even cricket does not have, has been thrown into cold stage and its players disbanded from training and ordered to go home. The governing body of the sport, the Sri Lanka Volleyball Federation, has decided not to take part in any tournaments conducted by the Asian Volleyball Confederation in 2021, which means the national team will not contest as many as 8 international competitions in the new year. South Africa have expressed their ongoing commitment to supporting the Black Lives Matter movement after their players raised their fists before the first test against Sri Lanka. The Proteas opted not to take a knee before their limited overs matches against England last month. Former South African President Nelson Mandela raised a clenched fist after his release from prison in 1990. The raised fist is a powerful gesture in our history, said a team statement. And on to business news. Inflation has measured by the year-on-year change in the National Consumer Price Index decreased to 5.2% in November from 5.5% in October 2020. This was due to the statistical effect of the high base prevailed in November 2019. Meanwhile, food inflation decreased to 9.4% in November 2020 from 10.6% in October 2020, whereas non-food inflation increased to 1.7% in November 2020 from 1.5% in October 2020. That ends business news. Up next is the economic news.
Economic news, courtesy of...
Congratulations on your promotion. It will be our treat, huh?
How about today?
Oh no, I was just joking.
It's fine. I have my LOLC credit card with me. Let's go out today.
Introducing LOLC Finance Credit Cards. Fuel the goodness in you.
And on economic news, China will overtake the US to become the world's largest economy by 2028, 5 years earlier than previously forecast, a report says. The UK-based Centre for Economics and Business Research said China's skillful management of COVID-19 would boost its relative growth compared to the US and Europe in coming years. Meanwhile, India is tipped to become the third largest economy by 2030. The CEBR releases its Economic League table every year on 26 December. Although China was the first country hit by COVID-19, it controlled the disease through swift and extremely strict action, meaning it did not need to repeat economically paralyzing lockdowns as European countries have done. As a result, unlike other major economies, it has avoided an economic recession in 2020 and is in fact estimated to see growth of 2% this year. That ends the economic news.
Hello, Puta. Did you land already?
We're in transit and our flight got delayed.
How is Shani? Poor thing with her pregnancy.
Calm down, everything is sorted. Why, I have my LOLC World Card with me. We are at the VIP lounge.
LOLC Finance Credit Cards. Fuel the goodness in you.
And finally on the weather report, due to the low-level atmospheric disturbances in the vicinity of Sri Lanka, showery weather is expected over most parts of the island. Showers will occur at times in northern, eastern, north-central, over central and northwestern provinces. Heavy showers above 100 millimeters can be expected at some places. Cloudy skies can be expected elsewhere, and showers or thundershowers will occur at several places. Fairly heavy showers above 75 millimeters can be expected at some places in these areas, particularly in the evening or at night. That ends the weather report. And to end this bulletin of news, the headlines again. The government has commenced the program to empower 25,000 female entrepreneurs. It is expressed that solutions for the problems of burial of the COVID-related deaths should be found scientifically. Japan has provided more than $600,000 for demining activities in the north. Trade between South Africa and Sri Lanka will be more balanced in the future. Cases of the new variant of coronavirus appear worldwide. With that, we conclude this bulletin of news from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.